Alright, this is chapter 3.4, multiply using partial products. And so we're going to multiply two-digit numbers, and we're just going to break them apart a little bit like we did in the last lesson. So it shouldn't be too much of a new concept. The problem they gave us is 34 times 57. And, excuse me, got a little frog in my throat today. They've got 57 times 34. I think they just decided they like to have the bigger number on top. 57 times 34. And then they make a little model, just a little tiny one, just to get them started. Okay, the model is not exact in any way, but it represents a couple of big things, like 50 times 30. Now, you got 50. Let's make sure I'm actually writing 50 plus 7 equals 57. This represents 50 this direction, and then a 7 more. And over here, it's 30 and 4. This is 30 plus 4, and that's 34. So each piece of this, there's 4 pieces in this larger rectangle. It's going to multiply. So it's kind of like saying, well, what's 50 times 30? Okay, if we were actually going to estimate, we would round 57 up to 60, and we'd round 34 down to 30, and we'd end up with 6 times 3 is 18, plus we have these 2 extra zeros, that's these 2 zeros, so it's 1,800, and we're just going to get started. Okay, so it says to shade the model, and you can do that. We're gonna just do this 50 times 30 first. 50 times 30 in purple, and we'll shade this. That's this part. This is the largest part. 5 times 3 is 15, plus our 2 zeros, so it's 1,500. And then they move on to step 4, and they're looking at the next 2 biggest ones, and I'm going to change colors just to hopefully make this clear. 7 times 30, so 30 times 7. So that's this square, and you shade that in. And 30 times 7 is, 3 times 7 is 21 with 1 0. So I'm going to start with that 0. There's a 0 here for the 30, and then the 7 times 3 is 21. This helps make sure I have everything in the right places, and I don't put my 2 here under the thousands place, because it's not 2,000. 30 times 7 is 210. If I change colors again, the next spot is the next 2 biggest numbers, or the next biggest square, which I guess I should pick a different color. Let's try red. Oh, these don't match. These are not pretty colors. They don't go together. Maybe they do. This one is 50 times 4. So that's 50 times 4. Okay, and 5 times 4 is 20 with a leftover 0. So these 2 squares here, the green and the red, are almost exactly the same size, 210 and 200. They're very close. And then the last little piece, I guess I'll do in pink, is this one right here. And it's just, oh, I guess I chose black. I thought I chose pink, but I missed. Is 4 times 7, and that's just 28. And then you have to add all of those pieces up. We've got 4 squares. I've got 4 areas, 4 totals, and we add those up using yet another color. That's 8. 1 plus 2 is 3. 5 plus 2 plus 2 is 9. And bring down your 1. 1,938. Now, that's not bad, considering our estimate was 1,800. We're pretty close. So that's kind of how that works. And we're going to do this over and over again. You're going to do lots of this. Let's do another one real quick. Story problem talks about an apple orchard. But anyway, the end result is that we have to multiply 48 times 23. And we're not going to draw pictures this time. We are going to still write it out. 48 times 23. Okay, and we are still going to start by multiplying the tens by the tens. That's the 40 times the 20. So the two biggest numbers are 40 times 20, and 4 times 2 is 8. 40 times 20 is 800. When you use 40, there's a 0, and 20, there's a 0, and 4 times 2 is 8. And after a while, enough practice, this just starts making sense to you. You have to recognize that 40 times 20 could not be 80. I mean, if your answers could be 880, 800, or 8,000, and we look at 40 times 20, we know we have an 8. But the answer couldn't be 8. That doesn't make sense. And 40 times 2 would be 80. So 40 times 20 couldn't be 80. So it makes sense that it's this one. And we might choose this one, but that would be just adding too many zeros. Oh, that says 800. It was supposed to say 8,000. 800 would be right. As we see up here, 8,000 would not be. But when we get started on this, we multiply the tens by the tens. We just need to know that when we multiply 10 by 10, we get 100. And so that's our two zeros. So the first step, again, we're not drawing the picture this time. We're not shading it in. We're skipping straight to multiplying these two together. 40 times 20. And then we'll change color and multiply these two together, which is 20 times 8. And 2 times 8 is 16. And the one extra 0 from the 20 goes in there, and we get 160. And then we're going to do the other diagonal, 4 times 3, but it's really 40 times 3. This is step 3, 4 times 3 is 12, but since it's 40, it ends up being 120. And then the last one, I guess we'll go for black again, is 8 times 3. And those are all just regular numbers, so it's 24. 8 times 3 is 24. And then we add 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, carry the 1, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1004 is our answer. Now I just noticed that the book didn't follow their pattern. Skip this if you understood. They did 23 times 48, and I didn't notice. And so the first one, 20 times 40, is still the same. But the second one, when they multiplied 40 times 3, that's this one, 120. And the third one they did was 20 times 8, which is 160. See, I've got 160 first and 120 second, and it's all the same numbers, and then 3 times 8 is 24. And we're still going to add up to be 1,104. Just depends, our numbers come in a different order if we put them on top, or if we do them, the diagonals different. So you're still going to get the right answer, or you should, as long as you multiply. I just try to start with the big ones, the tens times the tens, then one of the tens times one of the ones, etc. And you just keep going. Let's do one more before I wrap this video up. 62 times 56. All right. Now, 6 times 5 is 30, but since it's 60 times 50, we're going to add 2 more zeros. That's 3,000. I forgot to estimate. I'm going kind of fast on this. This is 60. 62 rounds to 60, and 56 rounds up to 70. Oh, to 60. 56 rounds up to 60. Good. And 6 times 6 is 36 with 2 zeros. All right, so that should be about our answer, and I already have 3,000 just from my first one. And if I multiply these two, 5 times 2 is 10, but it's really 50, so I've got to put a 0 in, and it looks like I should have moved them over because I can't have this blank spot over here. This doesn't work, so I'm going to just go backwards and do it like that. So 50 times 2 is 100, and that makes sense. Then I'm going to do this direction, which is 60 times 6, which is 36 with 1 0, or 360. And then the last one is 2 times 6, which is just 12. And then I add 2. 6 plus 1 is 7. 3 plus 1 is 4. And bring the 3 down. 3,472. And that's pretty close to my estimate. Okay, so that's what you do. You got to get the pattern. Multiply the numbers correctly in the right order, and we'll all be happy. If we look at another one, I'm not going to actually do this. 49. If you are feeling very comfortable, you can turn off this video. Times 63. If you're not, you can come back and watch this. All right, so the first step is multiply these two. And I'm just kind of drawing a little diagram. Second step is multiply these two. Third step is to multiply these two. And the last step is to multiply these two. And you can see there's kind of a little pattern to that. And if you can see this pattern and start to understand it, you're going to get all the answers right. All right, have a good time.